Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. This is my third layout that I've made with the September Hit Kit Club kits, and I am using a sketch this week. The sketch is by Missy Whidden, and it has a bunch of circles in it. And I decided to embrace my inner Missy Whidden and use a bit of mixed media on this layout. So I pulled out the mixed media kit, which comes with a stencil and a couple of, well, three actually, shimmers paints. They're all three spritz. I'm going to use two of them. And at first I decided I thought I was just going to go ahead and spray mist, which is why I was kind of masking all of that off. But then I decided I would add some texture paste to this with this stencil because I thought I really wanted those stars to shine on this. So I cut some circles out of just some white cardstock, and I'm using that as a mask because the sketch is full of circles, and so I wanted to mask off the stencil so that when you pull the stencil off it looks like a circle. See how that works? So I use different size circles throughout my layout, and here I am trying to do this without messing up the ones that I've already made. And I have some of them going off the page just because I like that, but also it's on the sketch that way. And I don't do every single circle that you see in this sketch because my idea at this point is I think I'm going to kind of stick with the stars, even though when you look at that sketch you see circles. And there are so many stars, different kinds of stars in the kit this month, that I decided I would take those stars and use some of them in place of the circles on the sketch, if that makes sense. So I'm still using the circles. I'm still inspired by the circles in the sketch, but I've decided that I want to go ahead and use stars as well. So I'm on a new day here because I decided I needed to let that dry overnight so that I could do some stitching. I stitched, you can see it, you can't see it on camera very well, but I used white thread and my machine to stitch around the circles that I created with the stencil. And now what I'm doing is I am using that same color combo. I took the Caribbean Sunset and the Tuscan Sun, both spritz from Shimmers Paints, and I added those two together to create a little bit of a different color. It's still a lot like the Caribbean Sunset, but just a little bit more yellow in there to make it a little bit more salmon to match the dress that my daughter is wearing in these photos. And it matches really well. I love how it turned out. I love how that color combo turned out. So I did that both for when I used the texture paste, and then now as I'm just using some of that, that's why it's in the bowl there. I'm just using that to add a little bit, using the packaging technique that will go behind the photos, and then adding some splatters across the page as well, because you can't have a mixed media page without splatters, in my opinion. So now I'm just adding some tissue paper behind my photos, and I'm adding this tissue paper, easy for me to say, behind the photos for a couple of reasons. One, I want the stuff going on behind the photos to be pretty subtle, and I like using this cardstock because it matches really well. That comes in the cardstock kit. And I thought the combination of that cardstock and then the tissue over it just lets a little bit of that peek through. I toyed with using that packaging that came with these exclusive alphas. If you saw me stick that behind my pictures there, but then I don't end up using that. But I do end up using these exclusive alphas, which are the perfect color. As soon as I saw these alphas, and the kit for that matter, I was like, oh, this is going to be when I scrap these photos because they just matched perfectly. And the sketch, to be honest, does too because she has polka dots in her dress, and I thought it just kind of went with the circles. So what you saw me do is I took some of the Paige Taylor Evans paper, and it has a ton of stars on it, and I fussy cut those mostly off camera, but you saw some of them. And I go back and forth here. You're going to see me take the blue ones off and put the blue ones back on because I was trying to decide if I wanted to go kind of more monochromatic or if I wanted to have the blue, if I wanted to have a lot more blue. So I throw this blue paper in there, but I don't end up using it. And that blue paper that you're seeing me put behind things now is the opposite side of the star paper. So I'm just using that, basically that one piece of pattern paper for this. And then the cardstock kit, of course. So I toy around with that a little bit. I decided to take all of it off and just leave that like pink and salmon colored stars. I toy with putting some gold on there because there's a bunch of gold, but then I end up going back to my original plan, which is using the pink with the blue stars also, and the salmon color. They're kind of they kind of meld in together. And then I saw these glitter, I guess it's a thicker package right there from Chamel. And I decided I kind of wanted Girl to be in that color, and I wanted to accentuate all of that kind of aqua color, that kind of blue and aqua kind of color. And there were more stars on that thicker pack. So I took the word glitter was on there, and I could definitely use the word glitter, but I decided for this time, using this packet of Chamel stickers, I would go ahead and just take the G, I, and the R, and the L off glitter and make Girl. So I've used the exclusive alphas that came in the embellishment kit for glider, and then Girl is made from the Chamel thickers. And now I'm just going through and finding all the stars, all the things that I can find with stars. So there's a die cut star, the stars that I cut fussy cut, and now I'm looking at the exclusive alphas, both sets there, and pulling stars off of those. This is later in the day. This is, I think, after my daughter maybe had gone to bed, and I'm finishing up the layout, which is why the lighting had changed. I apologize for that, but sometimes you just gotta scrap when you can scrap, right? So I toyed with putting white thread behind those stars. I also try out some aqua thread, and or kind of teal thread, and I don't end up using that. Instead, I end up using this kind of really pale pink, which matches the color scheme a little bit better, and also the whole idea of kind of a softer background with pops of color in the stars, and then the pictures of her really pop. And so these pictures were taken on her birthday. We had our birthday party for her for family. Well, we had two, but this one was actually on her birthday with most of the family there. And we went to a park so all the kids could play, and she had a blast. And they have this glider there, kind of like, my mom always calls it a zip line. It's not really a zip line. It's more like a glider, but she loves it. And so my grandson loved it as well, to be honest. But so these are two pictures that I really liked from the day because I felt like they were totally her. She's goofing off and smiling and being silly and hamming it up. It's her birthday and she's happy. Her whole family's there. And so that's kind of the story for the day. And I didn't really write a whole lot. I just, so my title is going to end up being Birthday Glitter Girl. And then underneath my title, I just, off camera, I think I write hashtag she's 8, which is what I used when I posted the photos on Instagram and Facebook. That was one of my hashtags, and it really just kind of tells the story. I don't know. I have other layouts and in my project life as well, kind of telling more of the deeper story. So for this purpose, it fit the photo perfectly, just saying she's 8, because it's just totally her and she's 8. And so now for the rest of this, I'm pretty much done. Really what I'm doing is I'm gluing things down and I'm adding all of these little bits from the exclusive alphas that came in the main kit. You can see there's lots of stars and lots of little circles, and they're all the same colors. They all match the kit, of course, and So I do that, and then I also I'm going to cut off a little bit of this on each side, or at least on two of the sides, so that I can add a border around the outside. And I'm just going to use, to kind of stick with the idea that I want it to be rather subtle, I'm just going to use a piece of cardstock around this that comes from the cardstock kit that matches that same salmon color that's behind the photos and inner dress. Okay, so what you're seeing me do here is this was after I fought with with my sewing machine a little bit already, but then it ended up working, thank goodness. But I just sewed a little stripe through each of those stars, each of the big stars. And now I'm cutting off the edge here, and even though I already sewed along there, I just snipped it off so that I can I tried to decide, I couldn't decide what I wanted for the background. Actually, the most of this layout, it really didn't take me that long other than dry time and stuff like that. The actual work time didn't take me that long, except trying to figure out what to use for a background as my, there we go, that's what I ended up using. That took me probably the longest of all of it. There was a lot of off-camera time kind of auditioning what was going to be my border paper. And since I did use a little mixed media and it was warping a little bit, I didn't use any gesso or anything. I went ahead and just glued it down on the whole sheet of cardstock, and I didn't save out the middle and the back like I usually do because I wanted it to be flat. And that's just about it. In a few, about 2 or 3 more minutes here, you're going to see the close-ups come up. Things to look for in the close-ups are just the stitching that I did, because you can't see it very well in this video. You can see it in the close-ups though. So see the stitching of the circles. I really like how that turned out. I really liked the whole subtle mixed media in the background. The colors in this kit are fantastic, and the colors that came in the color kit are also gorgeous. I have another mixed media layout that'll be coming up next week for you to see, that where I get to use these again. And I really enjoy working with the Shimmers products, but also these particular kits. I didn't happen to have any spritz in my stash, and they're so shimmery and beautiful, and I really enjoyed working with those this month. I was really excited. That's one of the things I like about getting the color kit, is that it just adds a few things that I might not already have in my stash to my stash, and then going forward, I know what else I want to buy. Is that good that I know what I want to buy? I don't know, because then I just buy it, but buy all the things. I'm just going through a few of the pieces of ephemera because I wanted to add a little bit of layers. I add up a couple of die cuts that just go behind mostly behind the photo, just kind of peek out from the photo. You can kind of see that from both of those, and then I'm pretty much done. I think I add one of the gold stars because there's a little bit of gold in one of the pieces of ephemera or two, so I kind of wanted to balance that out and put a little bit across the page, and a few more glittery stars because you can never have enough glittery stars. And then I think I add the journaling, which is really just that hashtag off camera, and then the date stamp off camera. And that's it. I hope this inspired you. Missy's sketch certainly inspired me, and I can't wait to see what you all make with using the sketch, and of course the rest of the kit. Check out all of the fun going on the Hip Kit member forum, as well as on the Facebook page. And I hope that you leave me some feedback or ask me some questions, and I will certainly respond. Thanks.